Today's lesson is called Migration and Spatial Reorganization. It's a continuation of what we've been learning about already, so some of it should be familiar to you. For your Bellwork today, you are going to list 3 things that can cause a whole group or community to migrate. We talked about several of these on Friday, so you can use those examples or come up with your own. For your objective, today we are going to analyze 2 documents so we can identify cause and effect of migration. We will know we have it when we can make an inference about the relationship between migration and spatial reorganization. Pause the video if you need to in order to get these down on your Bell worksheet. On the next slides, you'll be introduced to 2 sources. The sources will be revealed one at a time, as we always do, so you can record your initial thoughts, observations, or impressions of each source. To help structure your observations in your notes that you've downloaded from today's page, make sure you're jotting down what you see, think, and wonder. All right, so this first source, while it is a bit blurry, is source 9 for this unit. It's population projections for Bulgaria from 2020 to 2100 based on recent population data from the United Nations report published in 2019. So, take a moment, pause the video, jot down what you see, what you think, and what you wonder. For source 10, I will read it to you in case it's too blurry. It's an excerpt from Ruth Alexander, Why is Bulgaria's Population Falling Off of a Cliff? From BBC News, published in 2017. As I read, you can just simply jot down what you hear, really, see, think, and wonder. Deep in the Bulgarian countryside in the western province of Pernik, I made a rare discovery. It's not Stoyan Evtimov's traditional embroidered woolen tunic that makes him unusual. It's the fact that he's a 30-something-year-old living in a village. All my friends that I grew up with here left long ago, he says. Like many young Bulgarians, they moved to towns and cities in search of work. Stoyan considers himself lucky to have employment in the mountain village of Peshtra, leading its folk singing group and organizing an annual music festival in an attempt to revive traditional marriage music in the village. Even so, he's finding village life unsustainable. It's impossible to find someone to marry here in the village or the villages around, simply because there are no young people. The only chance for me to find someone is in the town, he says. It would be very sad and hard for me to leave the village, but I will have to do it at some point. I'm going to continue on to the next slide because it continues. Bulgarian villages have been losing people for decades. When the communists took power after World War II, they brought in collective farming, and many agricultural workers found work in new factories. After communism fell in 1989 and collective farms were broken up, that trend of leaving the countryside for towns sharpened, meaning got stronger. And many people don't stop there. They continue their work or their search for work abroad. This exodus contributes to another factor in Bulgaria's dwindling population numbers, in part because a lot of young adults have left the country. The birth rate is low. The last time a baby was born in the village, recalls shopkeeper Stefka, whose own 2 sons have moved away to the city, was a decade ago. That's 10 years. The little girl and her mother now live in Cyprus, she adds. The vast majority of the people Stefka serves are over the age of 60. The shelves are sparsely stocked, she says, because there aren't many customers, and she worries the shop will have to close. Higher up in the mountain, the village shops have already shut, along with the schools and bus services. The village used to be made up of about 600 people, says Boyan, a 70-year-old living in Kolestinci. Now we are 13. Some are in the cemetery, the rest are in towns. So take a moment, finish jotting down what you saw or heard, think or wonder about this second source. On your worksheet, you have 2 questions. According to the median of the projections in source 9, that's the solid red line, how is Bulgaria's population projected to change over the next few decades? Within the 95% prediction interval, which is the dotted red lines, what are the highest and lowest projections for 2100? 2100? How do we say that? Number 2 says, how does source 10 support the predictions illustrated in source 9? For my e-learners, you don't have to prepare to share out, but you do need to jot these down in your notes. If you need to pause the video and rewind it just to look at the source again, you can. You may be able to do it from memory, but I doubt you'll be able to know the actual highest and lowest projections, so go ahead and do that and come back to this spot in the video. Number 3 asks, what kind of spatial reorganization might occur in towns that experience development similar to those we just heard about in Pernick? What are some likely economic, that's like financial, political, and social consequences of these developments? What is the town going to look like, okay? And this is an image of Pernick. Number 5 says, complete the following sentences to create inferences and questions about the relationship between migration and spatial reorganization. So you'll write, I think I understand something that you think you understand, but something you're not clear about. And then I wonder, something you wonder about, because what makes you wonder that? Then you will read 2 case studies included in your notes today and answer the questions included in those. Your notes will be uploaded into the assignment for today's points.